very, very much for inviting me. I am delighted to be with you all today, and I am so sorry that it's not in person. I am now in Washington, DC, so I am going to work doubly hard for you all, so you get the most out of our time together. And I hope this is the beginning of a conversation, and I get to see you all in person very, very soon. So during our time together, my mission is to inform and inspire you. And I've been asked by the conference organisers, who have very kindly invited me, to talk to you about use cases that will help your ecosystem flourish. And in the main, that is going to be around financial inclusion and lending. But I'm also going to talk to you about one of the best use cases in the world, and I am privileged to advise on that. But first, let me set a little bit of context around the UK, and that will nicely lead into open banking excellence, what we do, and some of our global research, which I hope will help inform and inspire you as you start your open banking, open finance journey. So the UK, as I'm sure many of you all know, we created the blueprint, the template for open banking that is now adopted globally. This was in 2018. Why is that relevant? Well, it means that 6 years on, UK businesses have a huge wealth and depth of experience to share. We've had 5-6 years of our tech businesses building their systems, their processes, and they have the skills to support you on your journey. And those skills, those learnings to share will help mitigate your risk, and they will underwrite your success. So Open Banking Excellence is here to start that conversation, work with you, the banks, the FinTechs, your regulators, to help pathfind that journey with you. And do you know, if we did it all again, we'd do it slightly differently. Of course we would. And I want to share some of that with you too. So without further ado, let's crack on. My mission is to share with you how, when implemented correctly, open finance will positively impact your society, your economy, and yes, your government. In a word, open finance is an enabler. OBE, who are we and what do we do? We are the world's largest and most engaged open banking community in the world. Very proud to lead an amazing, fabulous team, but it's the most engaged part that I think is the most relevant. That means working with us, we have that authority, we have that reach, and we convene the community to help make things happen. And we believe that when you create a community, it needs to be diverse. Everybody needs to feel involved, and everybody needs to feel that they belong. So as you can see, we've divided it into 4 key points of what we do. One of the most exciting things we do is that we showcase the work of pioneers innovating in our space. And that in itself helps drive the growth trajectory of the community. Now, we are launching a campaign. It's called 80 Blogs Around the World. So we are dying to shine a light on the stories, the use cases, or what just is happening now in Colombia. So please share it with me, and we will make sure that it is seen by the rest of our world. We advocate for the community, and that helps with the policy and driving the agenda forward. And like any family, we get people together. We help create those connections between people that need each other to realise their vision, their strategy, their dreams. And like you, I am very, very proud of my country, and OBE are pathfinders. We do that initial work in a new country with the UK government. We help to inform, inspire, and educate an ecosystem. Very proud to, during our time together today, be introducing you to some of fabulous UK businesses. My gift to you is the Global Open Finance Index. And what I would love you all to do is, when you're back at your desks, is with a cup of fabulous Colombian coffee, download it and share it with your team. We created the index with our partners that you can see on the screen. Oxford University, one of the best universities in the UK. Their clever data scientists helped us with the data. That's both the quantitative and the qualitative research. A lot of the data points were put in by the World Bank, and we worked, as you can see, with the Department of Business and Trade. That's a UK government department. Now, those clever data scientists at Oxford University, they created 150 different data points, and they interviewed over 400 people around the world. And that was because our government opened up their embassies and very generously allowed Oxford University to talk to people within that country. Now, what does that mean for you? It means that you have world-class data, world-class insights for you to sit and absorb at your leisure, and for you to gently work through and share with your team. The audience for the index has been phenomenal. Over 500,000 people have now seen that. It's been in the Wall Street Journal, the Financial Times, Bloomberg, and so it could go on. So we believe this will help you inform your decision making, which after all is what we as a community want to do. It is now regarded as a global benchmark. As well as the download, you can also, if you go to our website, you can also look at some very, very cool infographics that we commissioned alongside the index. There are 9, in fact, but you can go in and you can put in your country. And I've just pulled off this one. And as you can see, Colombia is there, and you're at planning stage. So we categorized the watchers, the planners, the movers, and the leaders. And I just literally wanted to encourage you to go and download it. And you can see what has been said about Colombia and also across LATAM. There's some very, very interesting stats to share. Okay, now let's talk about some use cases that will inspire you, that will transform your society, your economy, and yes, your government too. The first use case I want to share is MoneyHub. MoneyHub are an award-winning TTP, an award-winning FinTech in the UK. And this really showcases the best of financial inclusion. Financial inclusion is in OBE's DNA. It's one of the reasons I got involved in this sector after building a bank. It allows data to really transform, really make a difference to people's lives. So let's spend some time together to look at what MoneyHub do. They use real-time insights from data lakes on analysis of customers' financial situations. And if you think of all the data that is available on a bank statement at the moment, and that is what we're asking your citizens to give secure consent for them to see that data. It's then how that data is used. So that data is given, you're given secure consent to use that data for a given purpose and a given time. So MoneyHub have 4 major criteria by which they drive forward financial inclusion, by which they use the data. And I believe if you take this away and overlay it with your own product and your own thinking, good things will happen. Affordability, suitability, that's a right fit for what you can afford, your eligibility. And we're going to have a look at that more on the next slide, and your vulnerability. Now, I think that's a crucial one, particularly in a cost of living crisis. And I believe we are judged by how we look after those that are vulnerable in our society. How do MoneyHub do this? Well, they're very smart, and not surprisingly that they win awards then. They have a system of nudges that translate into actionable insights. A nudge changes buyer behavior. So they are creating new buyer behaviors. And we all know we're creatures of habits, and to change any habit, you need to create new routines, and they help you do that by nudges. It's just like, going to the gym. The first thing you need to do is lace up your trainers. Okay. They have a very sophisticated platform that detects financial changes in the customers. So it's a very rich data lake where they're constantly accessing it. They're constantly looking at what is the right time to engage with that customer. And what they have done is they've transformed the customer experience through looking at affordability, suitability, eligibility, and above all, vulnerability, all based on giving secure consent and all making a huge impact. Let's have a look at the economy, how use cases in open banking can transform and inspire the economy. Lending. Now, to me, lending and financial inclusion really go hand in hand. But what is the problem? We always ask that, don't we? What is the problem it's solving? Well, the problem, quite frankly, is borrowers struggle, more so now because of the cost of living crisis globally, because credit files are broken. They're impersonal, and as we all know, they're out of date. You've got limited verification. That's because the historical data on me, on you, is very limited. In the UK, it's around my financial products, my court data, and some of my utilities, my water bill, electricity bill. And if I was paying rent, it would be almost impossible to verify that I've paid my rent regularly. I can verify that I've paid my mortgage regularly, but if you're not on that mortgage ladder in the UK, that data isn't held. So it excludes a whole set that need to borrow and deserve to borrow at a decent rate. It's out of date. It's always at least out and 90 days out of date. So therefore, you're not getting that real-time decision making, and it's obscuring risky and fraudulent activity. The solution, we believe, is combining verification and scoring with accurate real-time data. So it's that collaboration, and collaboration is it's a big word in our ecosystem. So that's using the very, very best of open banking, that real-time look at somebody's position to pay in the future, not what they have been able to pay in the past, and then combine it with the credit files. That is proven to work incredibly well. What many of the lenders tell us, and we're going to have a look at some of the data we've had from our masterclasses, is it unlocks tailored data insights, and it drives and puts power behind fairer underwriting processes. And if we really want a fairer, more equal society that can thrive, lending has to be at the heart of what we do, and that obviously empowers financial inclusion. Now, you will all hear about data categorization. When you're looking at data, it's how you categorize that data. And at the top of our time together, I talked about some of the great UK businesses, and many of them have now had 6 years in data categorization. So when I'm afforded more time, I would love to talk to you more, or maybe your regulators more, around data categorization and how that drives some of your policy-making decisions and more use cases. We believe that your credit file, in your historic credit file, shouldn't hold you back for what you want to do in the future. One of the key learnings that we found with all the work that we have done with lending, and it's a significant use case in the UK, is that everybody needs to support each other in this journey of creating this as a use case. And one important element of the ecosystem to educate, inform, and inspire are your debt providers. That is the banks that are putting that collateral, that finance onto your balance sheet. The more access that the TTPs and the brokers have to that finance, the more the ecosystem will grow. So it's the banks that are supporting, that are underwriting this loan, that need to be familiar, need to be confident, need to be secure with the benefits of open banking and how that real-time decisioning is actually reduces the risk. And we can definitely support with that. And if it's a reduced risk, we have found in the UK that reduces the cost of capital, which again is passed down the line. Very quickly want to bring that alive by talking about two more great companies. Salad Money, another TTP that wins awards and focuses on lending. During COVID, and lockdown, we all stood at the end of our driveways and we clapped for our health workers even. And yet, when they come to borrow, those same nurses, they borrow at a very adverse rate in the UK. Salad Money takes a different look at their lending criteria by having secure access to their bank details with the nurses' consent. They could see they were being paid regularly by the NHS, our National Health Service, our government, and therefore they factored that into their lending decision. And our nurses used to go into an overdraft position 48 hours after being paid. So the same people that we were clapping for were actually going to work stressed because of the debt they were accumulating. Now they're very socially big-hearted, they've got a good social conscience. Salad Money can lend at a reduced rate, and there is very, very little default on those loans, proving that by making a different type of lending decision, you can do well by doing good. I want to very quickly talk on another aspect of doing well by doing good, and that's Kogo. Kogo actually use your transactional data and they convert that into currency, and that currency goes for planting trees in the Amazon rainforest. So they have a process whereby they are driving for sustainability, looking at transaction detail on that. In this case, that's a payments API. So sustainability is all how you use the data for good. I mentioned that we've been running some masterclasses, and those masterclasses have been across the ecosystem, banks and a different variety of TTPs. And you can see just some of the phenomenal results that have been shared. This is real data. And the one that I want to draw your attention to is that applicants are offered, 20% of the applicants are offered lending at a better rate. And that's improving people's lives. The approval rate goes up and the experience is improved. So better UX, better efficiency, and it's better for the end user because they're borrowing at a, I would argue, more fairer rate. Always happy to share more on this. An absolute privilege to advise HMRC, that's His Majesty's Revenue and Customs, our UK tax collectors. And I advise them on the strategy for their open banking future use cases. It's the largest use case in the UK, and it's therefore the largest and the best use case in the world. The UK government was the first government in the world to take payments via open banking. And whoever knew what I'm about to share with you now, that collecting tax could be so inspirational, so innovative. They have now collected a whopping 3.4 billion of taxes. That is more than the GDP of Guatemala. And that's in less than 3 years on just one tax type called self-assessment. That's 1 billion of payments using the new API. Now, what we're doing with the future strategy is we're creating new APIs, a suite of APIs that are going to be embedded into the ecosystem, making paying taxes more accessible, driving forward more efficiencies, and inspiring more innovation. Just imagine if a bank or an accountancy software service had the government's API embedded into their process. You could be on Sage or QuickBooks or whatever accountancy platform, and you could look at your position and pay your tax without moving off that platform. That's the power of embedded finance. Just imagine if a bank can forecast your tax liabilities in the future and help nudge you and save, so your tax liability didn't come as a big peak in your outgoings. There's been a huge amount of volume. And I think the largest payment we've had has been just short of $1 million, which is a lot of tax, isn't it? One of the most exciting things to share with you is that, why did the UK government do this? They did it to drive forward efficiency. They did it to drive forward cost savings. First of all, the cost savings were cutting out the card acquiring fees. The efficiencies is because it's an account-to-account payment. Yeah, it goes from my account to the government's tax collection account. Nothing goes into suspense. Everything is reconciled. There are virtually zero customer queries, cutting out a huge amount of overhead. So increasing cost, driving efficiency, all of that is putting more money back into UK PLC, and that is powering a fairer, more inclusive economy. Clearly, I have no say over what the government does with all this cost savings, but that's what I would like to think it has. Okay. The power of feedback. And this is unsolicited feedback from people paying their taxes. And this is in the public domain. I think the nicest one I like to use, and I just want to give you a moment to read this, is that I've just sat down with a cup of coffee. Clearly that was Colombian coffee, expecting to spend the next couple of hours figuring out how to pay my self-assessment tax bill. And to my surprise and joy when you're paying your tax, yeah? The new HMRC app facilitated in a matter of 3 minutes. I kid you not. Congratulations and kudos to HMRC. Thank you. My coffee is still hot. That's customer experience. And that is the UK government driving forward the ecosystem. And I would be delighted to speak to your government, delighted to speak to your regulators, to support them in this use case. Talk to them about how this can enable and kickstart your ecosystem. Put through that slug of transaction. It's an ecosystem that needs volume. We can support you in this use case by putting in a big Kickstarter volume. There you go, the biggest and the best use case in the world. As I said, it'd be our absolute pleasure to introduce you to any of the companies I've talked about and a huge amount of other UK businesses. OBE pathfind at the beginning of the growth of an ecosystem, advising the boards of banks, advising regulators. We're the world's largest community, so we have access even to talent and capabilities, whether that be drafting standards, whether that be creating environments and sandboxes, huge amount on API development, and we have a lot of regulatory insights to share. I mean, I'm trying to condense everything that we normally share in a workshop over 2 or 3 days, and it would be my pleasure to come to Columbia and do just that. We would be delighted to support you putting the P into your P&L and how you can help monetize open finance. You can do well by doing good. You really can. So how can you engage? How can you get that knowledge? Well, I always say nobody's born knowing about open banking. Everybody has a day one. Whether you're a policymaker, a director of a bank, on the board of a regulator, everybody has a day one. Every new member of your team, those teams that you will be building constantly as your ecosystem grows, they all are excited and inspired about open banking, but they need to learn. Please signpost them to our website, our LinkedIn page. Ask them to sign up to our newsletter. Encourage them to view our campfires. And our gift, please download the index. Have a play with those infographics. Why? Because that's content that tells a story. It's content created by the community for the community. We offer unparalleled strategic value, and that I believe will help underwrite your long-term success. So whenever you want to engage with us, and we are here to transfer our knowledge, sharing best practices, and, very candidly, a lot of lessons learned. Of course, we would do it differently. but it comes from the use cases. It's those use cases that help develop your standards. It has to be from trickle down from the use case down to the rest of the ecosystem. So I said my mission was to inform and inspire you. I have a mission for you, should you choose to accept it. If everyone here mentored 2 talented, vibrant young females, we would change the face of our industry globally. Now, I know in Colombia, and I've met some fabulous, amazing females, but as we rise through the ranks of our sector, there are fewer and fewer females at board level. So I am asking you to support us in our mission to pass the mic to a woman. So we believe in passing the mic to women around the world. We would love to hear their stories and promote their use cases, as well as your own position of where you are today, your story, in our blogs, our 80 blogs around the world. So in closing, enjoy the rest of your conference. I hope in the short time that we've had together, I've achieved my part of the mission and I've helped inform and inspire you. Muchas gracias.